everyone, Pam Gregory, astrologer. I'm going to be speaking to you today about the first half of January and the new moon that we have coming up in Capricorn on the 2nd, very, very early in the year. Just before I get to the astrology, more housekeeping. Just to let you know, on Instagram, I have nothing. I haven't been active on Instagram for years, nor do I plan to be, so the 12 accounts on Instagram with my photograph and my name are all fake, all scams. On YouTube, I think there are now 7 scam channels. There is Astrology, Astrology TV, Pam Gregory Classic, Pam Gregory Classics, B0, and another 2 have joined recently of Special Message and Pam Gregory Prophecy. I don't ever believe I prophesy anything, so rather overblown title. All of those 7 channels are scam. Fake. So best idea, just to stick to this one. Don't reward the scammers. Just stick to this channel. This is my only official YouTube channel. So thanks so much for your understanding with all of that and all your wonderful support as well. Let's talk about moving into 2022. I think this is going to be a very different year energetically to the last 2 that we've had. The last 2 have been extremely contracted. We've been locked down for a lot of the time. We've had a lot of rules and regulations, and that was really all started at the beginning of 2020, 12th of January 2020. We had that very important Saturn-Pluto conjunction, and that was really the beginning of the hard times, the increased control, the austerity. However, as we shift into 2022, things feel quite different, really. I think it's going to be action-packed, very eventful, dramatic, unstable, yes, absolutely. But a feeling of speed and a feeling of, as the old falls away, we have much more opportunity to birth something new. And an alternative society is already being birthed. It is already happening. You may already be involved in groups that are actually doing this because they're all over the world. Because as the falling away of the old creates a vacuum, something else steps in that is going to be so much better. Now, I'm probably going to do a separate video on the big themes for 2022, but just to touch on those here, one of the big themes I think is all through 2021, we've had a square between Saturn and Uranus. And really through this year, Saturn has had the upper hand. So Saturn is about government rules and regulations, control, doing things for your safety, doing things that are really related to the past, the way they've always been. But Uranus is very different. Uranus is the future, it's the truth, it's awakening, it's not obeying the rules, it's breaking free, being independent. But it is always encouraging us to a higher state of being. Now, I feel that as we turn the corner of this year, go over the pivot of the seesaw, that Uranus will start to have the upper hand. And I feel that for many reasons that I'll cover in a separate video. But that will create a very different energy because it is unstable, it's unexpected, lots of shocks and surprises. I've called next year revelations and revolutions, and that's how I think it will be, because the revelations are coming out thick and fast now because Uranus is very related to the truth, and the revelations prompt the revolutions. We're going to see way more. We've seen an awful lot in particularly 2021 of riots, protests, peaceful demonstrations. I think we're going to see a great deal more in 2022. So that's one of the big differences, I think. Another difference is the nodes in January are moving from Gemini, Sagittarius, where they've been for the last 18 months, into Taurus, Scorpio for the next 18 months. So in this last month of the South Node being in Sagittarius, really our old belief systems are crumbling. The South Node is our collective past, what we're letting fall away, if you like. And that's very connected to our old belief systems. New belief systems are being born. And again, I'll talk in more detail about this in future, but the nodal axis in North Node in Taurus, South Node in Scorpio, a lot about the economy, finances, currencies, the earth, nature, loans, mortgages, debts, defaults, taxes, that kind of thing. South Node in Scorpio is related to secrets, sexual secrets, financial secrets, particularly of the rich and powerful, coming out. And it's interesting, if you think of Scorpio as the symbolized by the scorpion, it's often related to poisons and toxins. Poisons and toxins. Again, secrets coming out about poisons and toxins. I think that's going to be a big part of this. So another important trend next year that is new is Jupiter moving into Pisces. It does this on the 29th of December. It races through Pisces, and by the 11th of May, it has moved into Aries. Normally, Jupiter spends a year in a sign, so it's moving super quickly, and it then, in late October, backtracks again into Pisces until the end of 2022. So there's some big differences, but as I say, I'll talk about those in more detail as we move through. Now, I think a very positive beginning to the year is on the 1st of January. We have the Sun trine Uranus. Uranus is our future. Uranus is the galactic. Uranus is awakening. Uranus is a higher state of being. It's our superconscious. Uranus always wants to shift us away from dense 3D reality of Saturn because it orbits beyond the realm of Saturn. So yes, it's fast change. Yes, it's the unexpected. Yes, it's sudden, but it's different energy. It's moving us forwards. So let's now talk about the new moon, which happens very early in the year on the 2nd of January. So this is the first new moon of the year and is therefore very important. So let me put my glasses on and share my screen for this. So again, I've set this chart for London, for the UK time zone, because that's where I live. If you're not in the UK time zone, ignore the houses, ignore the angles, the clock face of the chart, because you'd have to adjust that to make it relevant for your location. So all we're looking at is the planets in the signs and their aspect to each other. So this happens on the 2nd. As I say, it happens at 10:34 a.m. Pacific and 6:34 p.m. UK time. Now, the Sun and Moon are always together at a new moon. So the Sun and Moon here at 12:20 of Capricorn, this is very strong initiatory energy. This is cardinal Earth. And what Capricorn is excellent at is setting a goal and achieving it. It's excellent at manifesting, always delivering against its goals. So here we can set a new intention for wherever 12 Capricorn falls in our chart. What is the new intention you want to set? What new seed do you want to plant in your own life? And what is the new intention you want to set for new Earth? Let's do that every month. So we're building energy into new Earth. Very important aspect here is that Mars is right on the Great Attractor. The Great Attractor is at 14 degrees of Sagittarius. And I've talked about this recently with the lunar eclipse, but the Great Attractor is this massive gravitational anomaly in space. It's like a gigantic cosmic vacuum cleaner. It is moving backwards at 600 kilometers a second, and it sucks galaxies in its wake. And we, on little planet Earth, are in one of those galaxies that is being sucked along by the Great Attractor. So it is intensely powerful cosmic and galactic energy. And when a planet aligns with these points, like the Great Attractor or the galactic center or supergalactic center, etc., it allows alignment, it allows downloads, if you like, of much higher consciousness energy. So this is extremely positive again here. What I find fascinating here is that the Sun and Moon at 12 of Capricorn are actually at the midpoint of Pluto, 25 of Capricorn, and a dwarf planet called Ixion. I haven't drawn Ixion in, but it's at 1 degree of Capricorn, so it's about here. So this new moon is at the midpoint of Pluto and Ixion. Now, Pluto, as we know, is about top-down systems, particularly governmental systems, large corporations, institutions. And Pluto moving through these last few degrees of Capricorn until 2024, when it finally exits, is about unearthing any corruption or lack of integrity, lack of transparency, etc. I've talked about this many times. That's its process. Ixion, the dwarf planet, is known as the lawless brother of Pluto. It doesn't have a great reputation because in myth, Ixion was a king. So a king, a leader, and instead of buying expensive bridal gifts for his father-in-law, he decided to murder his father-in-law. So crimes against humanity, if you like. And Zeus, king of the gods, gave Ixion a second chance to be reinstated, as it were. But Ixion rather messed up that opportunity too, because he tried to rape Zeus's wife, Hera, and was then spun off into eternity. So really, Ixion is to do with being completely lawless and amoral, committing crimes against whomever, against the gods, breaking spiritual law, if you like. This to me is absolutely fascinating. Ixion does have a very different level. Every planet, every dwarf planet has different levels of lower and higher expression. And with Ixion, the higher level of expression is finding your bliss, breaking away from the mainstream and finding your bliss. And may I suggest that a lot of people are already doing that. So this is super interesting. I think that's a very powerful part of this new moon. Another thing that is very important, I've been talking about this quite a bit recently, is that Venus, now retrograde from the 19th of December, is conjunct Pluto in Capricorn. Venus will stay retrograde until the 29th of January. It was last exactly conjunct Pluto on Christmas Day, and it will finally come again to exactly conjunct Pluto on the 3rd of March, and then gradually exit from Capricorn. But this is a very strong signature, as you all know from my recent videos around the economy, banking, currencies, finances, and a whole, this is birthing a new financial system, essentially. It's going to collapse the old system. It's going to birth a new. And actually, I shouldn't just say financial system singular, because I think there will be systems plural. Because Uranus in Taurus is promising lots of different, be it cryptocurrencies, blockchain technologies that are more decentralized and independent. Although obviously there's a move towards making everything centralized, in that every central bank apparently now has its own cryptocurrency, but that's a whole other rabbit hole. So because we are already within the energy of the US Pluto return, and I have a separate video on that, where Pluto in its orbit comes back for the first time to its so-called natal position in 1776, and that in the US chart is in the second house of the economy, the US economy, which will ripple across the world. I think it's inevitable somewhere between now and February, when that Pluto return becomes exact and continues operational for the following 2 years, that we are going to see some economic turbulence for sure. But that is a breaking down of the old in order to move to better systems. Venus-Pluto can also make us feel intense emotions, and these can be intense emotions around a past relationship. Somebody from your past may turn up. It can be obsessive, intense emotions about a new relationship equally. But I think one of the things that is most interesting about this conjunction at this new moon is that Venus at 22-23 of Capricorn is within 22 minutes. It's at the same degree within 22 minutes of that Saturn-Pluto conjunction that happened on the 12th of January, 2020, that initiated this whole pandemic. That was about hard times, excessive control, etc., overreach of government. So for me, this is, and because it's a new moon in Capricorn, sign of government, top-down authority, this is an extremely interesting point for Venus to be at, particularly because she's retrograde. So this is like a revisiting back to that same degree of whatever was initiated at that Saturn-Pluto conjunction. So what I think this is about is let's go back over what governments have been doing, how they've handled the pandemic over the last 2 years. How well has that worked for people, etc. I think that's going to be extremely interesting. So, and often hard aspect, and this conjunction is a hard aspect between Venus and Pluto, is to do with issues around betrayal as well. So, and that can be on an individual level. You might be having a sense of betrayal in a personal relationship, or it can be globally. We're having a sense of betrayal in a widespread collective sense. These last few degrees of the cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, particularly Capricorn, are going to be very, very activated in your chart. So if you have a sense of intensity here, that's what is unearthing it. And what it's about as well, and I've referred to this a couple of times, is Capricorn, Pluto in Capricorn, through the overreach of various governments, is helping us to see or teach us that we must come back to our inner authority rather than, as we have through our lives, very probably all of us have been referring to external authorities, governments, etc., big institutions, corporations. So it's going to be a turning in. We're going to be learning some new inner skills in our own sense of sovereignty and our power. It's an inside job, if you like. Now, what is really very positive as well here, I mentioned that the Sun was exactly trying to Uranus on the 1st of January, but still here on the 2nd. Uranus is trine to the Sun and Moon. So this is super. Again, this is expanding us out to the truth, to a bigger galaxy, a bigger cosmos, to our awakening. It's stepping up our consciousness to this higher state of being. It can bring in, again, because it's in Taurus, which is linked to the economy, currencies, etc., innovation and new technology in those areas as well. It's always linked to the galactic information. As we're moving from being little citizens on planet Earth to stepping into, I want to say, galactic remembrance, because that's where we've come from originally. We've just forgotten it. Remember always that Uranus is the unexpected. It's related to coronal mass ejections, solar storms, solar flashes, all of those things. All of those sudden extreme Earth events are going to be writ large through 2022. And I can't tell you when they're going to happen, because Uranus is always the planet of surprises. We'll never quite know, but we will be seeing a lot of it. Another aspect of interest is that Chiron at 8 of Aries is square to the Sun and Moon, 12 of Capricorn. So this is issues, not surprisingly, around sickness and health coming in here, but also new initiatives. This is a new moon, and Chiron is always also about healing. So are we going to see some new healing solutions coming in at this time, which are going to kind of break us forward out of the pandemic that we've had for pretty much 2 years now? Another very positive aspect, Jupiter has recently, 29th of December, moved into Pisces, where it will stay, as I mentioned, till the 11th of May. And this is in an out of sign square, T-square, in fact, to the nodal axis, because the nodal axis is across here. This chart is showing it just as squeaking into late Taurus, Scorpio. It's kind of on the edge of Gemini, Sagittarius, Taurus, Scorpio, but Jupiter squaring that, our future collective destiny, the North Node, is similar to Uranus in a way. It's the future. It's linked to truth in its rulership of Sagittarius around the law. It is 2022 is a year of dreaming big. Jupiter in Pisces, dream big, have bigger dreams than you have ever had, ever in your lifetime. Partly as the old collapses, we're going to have a vacuum to allow us that opportunity. But that Jupiter in Pisces, particularly when it comes together with Neptune, and I'll be talking much more about this later, is going to magnify our manifesting abilities in a way we've never experienced. I mean, big time. So get your dreaming hat on now. What do you want to dream in that has never been possible before? Because that's going to be possible in 2022. And we're going to make it happen. If we move beyond the new moon, and I'll stop sharing screen now. If we move beyond the new moon, we will see the moon triggering, aspecting the Uranus-Saturn square on the 4th, and by the 9th, it is aspecting, highlighting the Eris-Pluto square. I want to say about the Eris-Pluto square that has been operational for the last 2 years and continues to be so all through 2022. But don't forget, and sometimes I mention it, sometimes I don't, that it's actually a T-square, because Eris is opposing Haumea, late degrees of Libra, and Pluto is squaring her. She is an incredibly creative, regenerative energy. She can regenerate the earth, even when it appears to be hopeless and just laid waste and dead and toxic. She's one of the most powerful symbols for New Earth. So as Eris is creating in its feisty street fighter mode, archetype, the collapse of the old, Haumea is right there, creating the new, creating something magical, shamanic, deeply connected to nature, quantum, really beautiful. And I'm getting very interested, as you know, in these Kuiper Belt objects, these dwarf planets. I'm going to be talking a lot more about them through 2022. Ixion is one of those that I've just been talking about. So the next thing to look at in this first half is that on the 10th, Eris moves stationary direct at 2341 of Aries. Now, we will feel this a good week to either side. It moves stationary direct. Whenever planets move in either direction, it's like a big, big ship turning around. They kind of drill down on that 1 degree. And so we're going to feel the symbolism of Eris strongly week to either side. So we know she's the feisty street fighter. We know she's the female awakener. We know she's the goddess of discord and chaos, in order to break through to something better. She will not tolerate inequality and injustice in society. Her whole impulse is that everyone has to be included, nobody marginalized. She's also, don't forget, the patron saint of chaotic creation. She's going to help us create something amazing. These dwarf planets, as I've mentioned, represent a higher level of consciousness for us. We're moving beyond all our kind of bread and butter planets, if you like, that we've used for so long, and we're adding in another layer of consciousness, and Eris is very powerfully part of that mix. Then on the 18th, Uranus moves stationary direct. Again, magnified a week to either side. And as I've mentioned in the past, Uranus' symbol is quite similar to Eris. They're both planets of awakening. They're planets of revolution, rebellion, demanding equality. So all of these things, truth, demanding truth, all of these things, including the earthquakes, the volcanoes, the shocks, the coronal mass ejection, all of those things, cyber attacks, all of those things potentially are going to be strongly felt around the 18th. And I'm going to talk more about that, of course, in the next video, because I'm just tipping over the midpoint of the month. But we're also tipping over the midpoint of the seesaw, because we're moving from this 2 years of very strong contraction and just warmth over that pivot point of the seesaw, and the energy becomes very different. It becomes, yes, unstable, yes, a bit of a wild ride, yes, ground falling away from beneath our feet, yes, relentless, fast pace. We can all barely catch our breath in doing this. And from the 29th of January, when Venus moves direct, all of the planets are moving direct until the end of April. So we're going to have this strong sense of momentum, very strong. And remember that Jupiter is racing through Pisces during that period until the 11th of May. So I think we are going to see so much happening in our world. It's going to be, as I say, dramatic, very colorful, very eventful. Don't make your focal point those outer events. Keep bringing yourself back to your anchor and make your anchor something instant, free, simple that you can do anytime. I mean, just remember the baby belly breath that I've talked about. Just shut your eyes, focus 100% on your breath. 100%. You are nothing but the breath. Clear the mind. And you just gradually allow the breath to breathe you. Allow the breath to happen. And very softly just allow the exhale to become longer than the inhale. Just allow that to happen. Just drop into that breath like butter melting in the sun. And within seconds, you are lowering your cortisol levels, your stress levels, your anxiety levels. So your anchor and your center is yourself. This is something we're really going to learn because we are creating all of the time. We are co-creating with the energy of the universe. And we do that in a fairly unconscious, shambolic way generally. Just thoughts rummaging through our heads. We're not aware, we're not very conscious of our thoughts, which are electrical impulse, and our feelings that are magnetic wave. It just kind of jumbles through us. And so part of 2022 is helping us to be much more conscious of our thoughts and our emotions and kind of take command of them. You know, decide to dominate your reality with the frequency you choose. Is it love? Is it joy? Is it freedom? Is it compassion? And it doesn't have to be overexcited. It can be peace. Peace is a high frequency emotion. But when we're co-creating in a kind of random, jumbly kind of way, the structures that we're creating, the geometry that we're creating with the plasma is everywhere. It's just kind of electromagnetically charged ether, if you like, but it forms geometry in that plasma. And if we are incoherent, particularly when we're in low frequency emotions like anger, fear, hate, we get incoherent geometry. It's like interference on a television set. It's not going to produce a beautiful result because everything in the universe is a frequency match. So if we can feel more coherent emotions, which are always higher frequency ones of love, joy, peace, laughter, compassion, gratitude, appreciation, they form coherent geometry in the plasma, almost like this energetic scaffolding that's being built in the plasma. And as we start to add to that, and it's even stronger if we can do this collectively, if we can start to add to that scaffolding, that architecture, we are pulling into reality much more quickly and much more powerfully and much more positively an amazing new earth. I mean, Lynn McTaggart has done some wonderful work on this, as you know. Read her latest book, Power of Eight. Even with a group of 8, you can do this much more powerfully than just doing it on your own. But if you're in a community, a group of like-minded people, even if you don't know the detail, come together focused on these beautiful high-frequency energies, and the geometry that we're creating in the plasma is coherent. It's much more symmetrical. Think of Masaru, Dr. Emoto's beautiful symmetrical ice crystals when people directed positive love, positive emotion to the water. I mean, you can find that online very easily, and you can find what was produced when negative emotion was directed at water, and then it was frozen, the ugly, asymmetrical, distorted patterns versus the exquisite, symmetrical, beautiful, really beautiful patterns that were created simply by directing positive emotion to water. And think how much our bodies are made up of water. So I hope that's helped you. So 2022 is going to be a wild ride, but it's going to be a ride where we start to step into our sovereignty, where our authority, our power, and start possibly for the first time ever in our lives to really feel that and to see it operating as we pull in through our focus, our intentions, a much, much better new earth. Hope that's helped you. Tons to say about the second half of January, and I'll also, as I say, in the coming weeks, do a more general one on 2022 as well. Hope that's helped you. If you don't know where these aspects fall in your chart, you can download a free birth chart from my website and go to the link in the description. You can buy a 2-part tutorial video series that can explain how you find these points in your chart and what the meaning is for you in your life that you can use for any update I do. If you want more information about my books, my teaching videos, my newsletter, etc., just check out my website, pamgregory.com. Thanks so much for listening. God bless. Bye for now.